Best of r/entitled parents episode 25. Okay, so my Chuck E. Cheese location still has the animatronic band. And at times, I've had people demand that I turn it on for their child to watch. Pleading, screaming, all of it. And as a tech assistant, can I physically flip a few switches and turn on the show? Yes, I can. However, at the same time, the animatronics are too old to simply go back and pull one of the immediate tracks. Especially if it was after a showing these oblivious parents missed. I mean, if these animatronics were better cared for, which we're working on, and newer, then yeah, I'd totally flip the switch for someone given they asked nicely and weren't standing there swearing me out demanding to see a manager because I told them no, we can't turn on the show. Why not? Because the tape doesn't work that way, we can't pick and choose. That sounds stupid. It isn't. You really expect 42-year-old tech to work at the drop of a dime? Yes, actually you're an employee. Everything here should work. And if you can't even do your fucking job for a guest, then you're a useless employee who should walk out and quit. Excuse me? You heard me. No, I don't think I did. Do you want me to spell it out for you? Yes. Silence, I want to speak to your manager. Alrighty. They're just gonna say the same thing, but whatever floats your boat, hun. Thank you. Next. This was many years ago. I worked in a building with 20+ stories and took the elevator every day. Something I hate is when people try to smoosh themselves in when the elevator is already full. It happened constantly and my claustrophobia would kick in a little, making for some really uncomfortable rides. As the years passed, I began to lose patience with the entitled people I encountered on the elevator and began to get snarky. One day I get to work and get on an elevator. There is barely any room and briefly I think about getting off and taking another when I see a woman with a stroller running our direction. Of course I'm going to call her Karen. Karen had a big stroller with a toddler in it. In her one hand was a Starbucks cup and in the other was her phone, which was pushed up against her ear. She was directing the stroller with her body and doing a bad job of it. She's talking on the phone, totally oblivious to those around her, and heads towards us, clearly intent on taking our elevator up. I again take stock of the space and realize it's absurd of her to even try. The doors start to close but Karen makes it just in time. She doesn't even look to see if there is enough room. She's so into her call that she's just shoving the stroller into the doorway and assuming everyone will just part and allow her. The problem is that I'm standing directly in front of her. The doorway opens but I stand still, blocking the entrance. She pushes the stroller so it taps my legs but I don't budge. She finally looks up from her phone call. Me, smiling. Sorry, this elevator is full. Karen, I'm only going up 3 flights. Me, that doesn't change the fact that there is no room here for you and your stroller. A man in the elevator with me presses the door close button. Karen tells whoever is on the phone, hold on while I deal with something. Karen, there is plenty of room in there. Me, I think I speak for the rest of us when I say that we don't want to be smashed up to the walls so you can fit in here. Just take the next one. The doors start to close again but she pushes the stroller in the way so they reopen. I hear the people behind me sigh. We're all going to be late for work because of this bitch. I reached out with my foot and shoved the stroller back a few inches. I was nowhere near the little boy. Me, get your damn stroller out of the doorway. You are not the only person here. You do see that, right? The rest of us need to get to work. Stop being selfish and entitled and find another elevator. Karen looks like she's been assaulted, standing with her mouth agape. The man from before hits the close door button again. As the door slides closed, I yell through the crack, have a nice day, thank you. Next. I was sitting around reading stories here and I realized I had a perfect story. The entitled parent is my mother and her insane need to be right. When I was younger my father had a massive heart attack, the result being that we had to change the family diet to something more heart healthy. Lots of people go to seafood for heart healthy diets because of all the healthy oils and fats, so shellfish and fish were a large part of the household. One night, after we had a shrimp pasta, I started getting this weird feeling all over my body. I felt like my whole body was on fire and like my nose was stuffed, so I had to take deep breaths through my mouth. I looked at my arms and giant red splotches started to appear all over me. At this point I call my mother over and exclaim that I must be allergic to shrimp. She looks at me and replies, "It doesn't look bad." just go to sleep. The entire night I tossed and turned, unable to catch my breath or get away from the relentless heat oozing off of my skin. I decided that day I would never have shrimp again. The next couple times my mother made a meal with shrimp, I would politely decline and make food for myself. Even though I made my own food from scratch, I was still feeling strange after the meal. It was starting to get to the point I would be gasping for air, barely able to swallow, and wheezing. I assumed that being in the same room when they cooked shrimp might be enough to make me feel sick. I mentioned this to my mother and got an irritated sigh and eye roll. "You are not allergic to shrimp." So the next time dinner with shrimp rolls around, I just don't say anything. The symptoms come on as usual, but I just kept it to myself. Apparently the lack of mentioning how bad I felt was interpreted as me admitting I was fine. My mother walks over all proud of herself and sits down next to me. "See? I've been rubbing shrimp on your utensils before you eat for a while and you're perfectly fine." Needless to say, I eventually went full anaphylaxis, unfortunately from something other than shrimp, while I was student teaching, and had to go see an allergist. After my allergy panel, the doctor declared a very long list of foods, plants, and molds I was allergic to. Guess what was on the deathly allergic list? Shrimp. My mother's reaction when I pointed it out? She shrugged and said, "Oops, that was about a decade ago and I still can't eat food she has prepared." She just tested me again with onions this time, just last year. She tells me there are no spices on things and then remembers when my throat starts closing up and I have to devour Benadryl. The worst part is, my father knows and doesn't warn me, so that's my story of my mother preferring being correct over me being alive. I actually have a ton more of these. If anyone finds my random childhood stories interesting, I might post more. Thanks for reading. Edit. Oh my goodness, I posted this before taking a nap and woke up to all of this support and concern. I appreciate it all so very much. To put some fears aside, I no longer live with my parents and are on light contact with them. My husband takes my allergies very seriously. He doesn't even allow them in the house. So I am safe from the poisonings. Also, I know a lot of people don't understand why I am in contact at all. The cycle of abuse is a crazy thing, especially when it's all you know. You think it's normal until you escape. I'm in massive amounts of therapy and working on my mental and physical health. Thank you for the gold, kind stranger. Thank you. Next. So this was when I was like 11 or 12, but I used to have this friend. We're going to call her Harper. So me, Harper and another 2 girls used to have this friend group where we would gossip about our teachers. We didn't bully them, we just gossiped. But there was this day Harper and me got into a fight, but my other friends were still by my side. So we kicked her out from the group and she went home crying. But a few hours later my mom got a phone call from Harper's mom and she started screaming, "Your daughter made my daughter cry, and if your daughter doesn't apologize, I will go talk to the principal of their school and make sure she gets expelled." My mom just hung up and told me the whole story. So I told her what happened with Harper and she was okay with it. So the next day at school, in the middle of one of our classes, Harper's mom opens the door and screams, "Where is that fake SLT?" And then Harper pointed at me and the whole class was in shock. So Harper's mom comes up to me and starts grabbing my school material and throwing it at me. None of the school material hit me, but then the police came at the door of the classroom. Turns out my teacher called them. So basically Harper's mom got arrested. Harper doesn't talk to me anymore, but she apologized and I'm still friends with those 2 girls from my group. Thank you. Next. My parents sucked. You can read what they did in my other posts. When I was 4, I got hurt really bad. I was jumping on the couch and I fell. The corner of my eye hit the counter of the coffee table and busted my face open. CPS was in the house, for other reasons, and saw it happen. They screamed at my mother to call an ambulance to get me to a hospital. I was taken away and fixed up. I have one clear memory from my time in the hospital. I woke up and my nana was next to my bed with a huge bouquet of flowers. She had been there for hours, watching over me. My uncle was also there, with flowers. He was worried. My other uncle had stopped by while I was sleeping to make sure I was okay. My parents never visited me. They never bothered to see if I was okay or if I kept my eye. They were too busy sitting on the couch and eating to check on their daughter in the hospital. Thank you. Next. English is my first language, so come at me in the comments if you want. Also, I'm 17, female. Cast, M equals entitles mom duh, me equals marvelous elephant, ek equals little shit around 6'7", nk equals nice kid, girl around 14 x older sister, po1 equals police officer, po2 equals other police officer. Backstory, I live close to a very nice park that I usually take my 2 wonderful doggers to. You should know in advance one of my dogs is cute and small but squeaks a lot and the other one is fat and tall and sassy AF. There is also a very nice pond in the middle of the park. The story, it's just a regular day, or so I thought, and I'm walking my dogs in the park. I could tell they were getting thirsty so we go and stop near the pond where they can drink some water, which they are allowed to do. Just as we are about to leave, Ek comes up to me with NK and the following conversation goes like this. NK, hi, my brother was wondering if he could pet your dogs. She said this in a very polite way so I obliged, and they started petting the dogs. Ek, this is a very sweet dog, can I have him? I was taken aback and about to tell him no when NK said, NK, Ek, we talked about this. Just because mom gives you everything you want doesn't mean you can act like this in public. Ek walks over and starts punching her in the stomach. NK fell over in pain and started yelling at him to stop. Me, hey, stop that right now. I was yelling pretty loud so obviously he got scared and jumped off her and began to cry. Enter M. Don't you yell at my son that way, you horse. Ek, yeah, you horse. Me, I wouldn't have yelled but Ek was repeatedly punching NK and wouldn't stop when she told him to. So what, she probably deserved it. Ek, yeah, she said I couldn't have those dogs. Looking at my dogs since you were so rude to my son, give him your dogs now before I call the police. Me, no you psycho bitch, you can't have my dogs. Then walks over to me and pushes me into the pond and starts gathering my dog's leashes. Luckily I have taught my dogs how to escape their leashes in case of an emergency, so they managed to quickly slip out and jump into the pond to save me. Then proceeds to keep my head under the water. Now I told you about my sassy dog, so my big ass dog gets out of the water and pushes M to the ground and sits on her. I get out of the water with squeaks and get my other dog off M. That rabid dog just abused me. Me, no she didn't, she just stopped you from drowning me. M walks toward me and slaps me in the cheek. But what shocked me most was that NK walked over to M and punched her square in the jaw. By now a passerby must have called the police because when M was about to punch NK, a police officer cuffed her. Po1, ma'am, you must be restrained while we sort this out. Po2, girls come with me. Ek, you stay with M. Me and NK walked over to a bench and sat down with the officer. We told him exactly what happened and later found out NK was getting abused by M. Po2, ma'am, you are under arrest for attempted theft, child abuse, assault, and attempted murder. In the end, M ended up kicking one of the officers whilst screaming and she also got charged with assault of an officer. NK and Ek were taken into custody by their uncle and aunt and I pressed charges on M and got thousands. M went to jail for 2 years and when she gets out she will be put on probation. Thanks for reading. Edit. If anyone wants to see my dogs, I just posted them on my profile. Thank you. Next. Oh, this one's a doozy. I wish this were fake. My aunt, cousin, and I recently went to Expectation. I don't like eggs but I went because she thought it was cute. I was pleasantly surprised when I found out they had other things on their menu. I had ordered just a side of pancakes because I wasn't very hungry, but my aunt and cousin got some cheese and egg monstrosity. When my pancakes came, my aunt was shocked and upset that my circle pancakes came on a square plate. She talked about it for a while until finally she called our waitress over. She said she wanted my pancakes calmed because they came on a square plate. I didn't say anything because I was too shocked. Oh my god, it's pancakes, calm down. They obviously didn't bend to this ridiculous request, so she asked for the check and left. No tip. My cousin went to go get our car and my aunt went to the bathroom and I tipped our waitress. But damn. Out of all the silly things to be upset about, she didn't even eat her food. She said it was good but she wouldn't eat it because of the principle of the thing.